Hello and welcome to this Inspiring City podcast. We've got a bit of a special one today. We're with Greg and Lara, the founders of BSMT Space, which is a gallery which has been doing a lot of good stuff over the past year, and it is in fact the year birthday, and that's why we're here, and we're going to be talking about some of the top moments, in fact the top 10 moments from BSMT Space over the past year. So hi guys.
Hello.
Hey there.
It must. I'm all right,
Yeah.
actually. I mean, how are you doing is the question. I mean, you've been going a year now.
Sure, we have indeed. And we're going off the charts for the last month. I'll tell you something. It's been show after show at the moment.
It does seem like you've been doing a lot. It does seem like BSMT Space has been, one show after the other and after the other. Does it feel like that way to you?
It's felt like that for a year, but it's important for the energy of the space, I think, and a lot of it just happens by default. Like, oh, hey, there's this artist, and we should be doing an anniversary show, and we just keep rolling, just one step ahead of it. We're heading into a really special occasion for us, and then the start of another amazing year.
What gave you the idea to start a gallery in the first place?
Sure.
Organic concept. I'd found a space, this BSMT Space. That's what the BSMT stands for, a totally derelict basement. And I had a feeling when I stood in here of the potential of it, but I couldn't quite get to the start point. At the same time, I had met Greg, roughly around that period, and I asked him if he wanted to collaborate in putting together Underhand, which was our first show, the first group show that we put on, which was a charity event. And we, both of us just having a vision of what it is that we wanted to do, it evolved step by step, and we figured out, okay, we should, this is how we should invite people, how many people should we include, and really that just became Greg's department, and mine was logistics, trying to get the place looking not like a total squat, and I think, for us it was just like we were taken as much by surprise as everybody else, the success of that show, and the willingness of people to want to work with us, and how it came about.
So I get the coming down and seeing the space bit.
Yes.
But why did you even come down to see the space? What was it about yourself, and what was the idea behind setting up a gallery in the first place?
For me, I was looking for something in my life, one of those moments, I suppose, where you just feel a complete disillusionment with your day job, and you feel like you need to do something that doesn't belong to somebody else, something that you would work towards and that's more meaningful and not just about, I don't know, somebody else's pocket and somebody else owning everything that it is that you do. And that's why I was looking. And I realized at the beginning, especially when I asked Greg to be involved, and he was bringing what Greg did so amazingly well at the beginning, was just bring people to the space, bring energy, bring artists in. I had no way or no idea of being able to facilitate.
And how did the artists feel about BSMT Space?
It was a really funny process right in the beginning, because I was right in that throng, my heyday of running around in the streets, taking pictures of art and meeting all the artists, and just being in a really good position of having great relationships with artists, from the Instagram platform that really developed my relationships with artists. And
you put, the making it a charity event. Greg found a charity that
St. Mungo's it was.
Yeah.
Almost charity,
that he wanted to specifically work with, and we were actually able to donate quite a little bag of money to them at the end of that show, through sales, which Greg powered, and I think you were figuring it out as you went along. But that's why this is one of our top moments, because it was just like something it just locked into place at the right time.
So from a seed, from an idea that you had, and then independently, Greg, you're walking the streets, you're sort of getting to know the scene, getting to know the artist. I mean, that was meant to happen, right?
Yeah.
It was aligned in the stars.
Aligned in the stars. Okay, so that's really interesting. But what we're really here to talk about today is your top moments, and we've picked out 10 moments from the past year that you were going to share with us, and you've just given us one. Is that which is the first show in the St Mungo's show? Is that number one?
Yeah, putting that show together, actually standing in there with people in the gallery, and we had no idea how many people were going to come. I was terrified about crowd, how many people in the basement, and it was a great night. A lot of the neighbours were a bit buzzed out because, what's this?
What the hell's in our neighbourhood?
Yeah, what's going on?
There are 150 people.
Yeah. But they get it now. And that opening night closed at 3:00 in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
There were loads of people inside there just drinking, laughing. There were chairs and beach chairs, and it was more like, for me, certainly just the party. I couldn't.
That was our opening party. That was our launch night.
So what was number 2 on the list?
Well, after that, a friend of mine, Omar Castaneda, is part of a collective known as Food of War, and basically, it's what it says on the tin. They're examining the relationship between food and war in war-torn places, and as it was very much like a politically motivated show. It was documentary and photography, something totally different. We were welcoming all this stuff into the space because it was good for us. It was good for us to learn. I mean, we were really green in discovering the way to put shows together. And so they came down here and they put together a night that was very much about eating food, dipping wafers in wine, and it was a really sophisticated evening.
So they were combining the art with experiential experiences such as food and drink.
Yes.
I've heard that before, particularly when you're talking about war-torn places. Actually, one of the biggest things about creating communities is breaking bread together. Was that the whole thing behind that?
I think that's how they wanted to communicate. That hummus, for example, they wanted people to eat that. I think it was the sharing of food. The wafer and the wine was, you wrote something that was a word, a message, was something positive. Dip it and then eat it, or exchange it. But the reason it's part of our top 10 is...
I was going to bring you back to seeing Gilbert and George walk down our stairs, which was quite a surreal moment. Don Walker, dear Gilbert and George. It was a surreal experience.
And it was a very packed evening that night. It was a beautiful opening night, and the whole gallery descended into hush because somehow we had become legitimate in the contemporary art world. There was lots of cameras going. There was a thank you speech, and we were all just so overwhelmed because 1 month before that, the place was chaos. And all of a sudden, boom, we were now second show in.
2 shows down,
yeah.
Because that rolled straight after Underhand as well. It was like 3 days after Underhand closed.
Yes.
Art legends in the East End.
Yes.
So that's moment 2.
Yes.
There's a few legends that have walked on those stairs. In fact.
Oh yes. So what's moment 3?
Well, this is about the keeping the momentum going in the gallery. We straight after that we were like, well, what are we gonna do? Let's do a seasonal exhibition. And Greg had come up with the idea of, all right, let's just do a collection of skulls. Let's do that.
Well, we originally had thought on that. It was one of our plans, and then it was that we were going to do that other project that was going to tie into Halloween, more so into Halloween, where it was a cinema experience inside here. And when that fell through, then it was suddenly, oh my God, get me skulls.
Yes, which apparently I said, which I don't really remember. A lot of it is blind panic, I think. And then Greg went off and
skulls, I got it.
Yes, we put that show together in just over 2 weeks. And it was one of our most successful. I mean, that's when we met you. You came down and...
yeah, we covered that show in Inspiring City.
Yes, you did. It was the first time.
So I think the moment was more the get me skulls than getting the skulls.
Yeah.
That was the drive of the show.
It was like
it
a
was
pressure
that,
situation.
It was that suddenly like, boom, this has got to happen. And
Yeah.
it happened so sweetly. It happened so sweetly. The skulls just rolled through that door.
Great. Okay, so those. So what have we got for moment 4?
Hollywood meets BSMT, where we were introduced via London Graffiti to a client who he was looking for a gallery space, an alternative space, not something that was absolutely going to rinse them. He was an actor who was working with his friend Joe Sangre. Very unassuming. We went and had a coffee. He said, I want to put the show together and my friend is helping me, and it's loads of Depression era prints, and this is going to be my first solo show. We curated it for them, but they did a lot of the hanging themselves. It was all under their control, and we got this list because it was a very strict door policy of the people that were going to attend. And we looked at this list and I was like, yeah, so these, kind of similar to Gilbert and George, but I was like, there's no way these people are going to roll into the gallery. And lo and behold, it started filling up. There was these two sort of punk waitresses that they had found from somewhere who were serving canapes, getting pretty wasted themselves, and all of a sudden the gallery slowly but surely started filling with Hollywood celebrities. We had the likes of Rita Ora here, Chris Pine, the Captain Kirk, who were and we it was the first show I had to throw somebody out because they were unruly. There was all sorts of rowdiness happening in the alcoves, slightly X-rated.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. We had some of the cast of The Only Way is Essex, yeah.
Game of Thrones with Natalie Emmanuel.
She was lovely. The queue for the toilet, I remember at one stage, was absolutely phenomenal. We only have one. And Greg took Chris Pine across the road to our good friends at Viva. You were helping Chris out.
I'm sure he could go by himself.
Yeah.
No, but I went across there because he was like, "Oh, they're gonna wait." I was like, "Right, come across over here." And the irony is that the owner over there, Vulcan, and introducing him, Captain Kirk, to Vulcan.
I love it.
Brilliant, absolutely priceless. The surrealness of having the likes of Rita Ora running around and celebrities running around inside her was quite a surreal thing for having been open 3 months.
Yes, there was lots of glitterati that we didn't even notice, and we didn't even know who they were, and it was just such a good vibe. And I think it was just something, because when you start a space from nothing and then it grows, you can see, how did we get here? Like, how is Rita Ora in the building when 3 months ago there wasn't even power? that kind of thing.
Wow. Great moments.
So yes.
Okay, so we're doing pretty well on the moments. So what's moment 5?
An artist who was referred to us. He's a really he's a socialite, an old Blitz kid. Who came very unassuming, one of the most dapperly dressed men I've ever seen, full on 50s gear, cocked hat, down the stairs. I'd like to hire out the gallery, and I'd like to just photographs of roses. That's what I would like. I said to him, it's a big space to fill. Yes, that's fine. That's totally fine.
Photographs.
Yeah, photographs of roses I've taken by night. His name's Christos Toller. What an enigmatic man. And boy, do the ladies swoon. Yes, when he's in the room.
Swoon is the word.
Yes. And so we facilitated it, but he completely took over the gallery. It was his night. Slowly but surely the gallery started to fill up.
Probably the most well-heeled crowd that we've ever had in here. Several Royal Tailors in here. It was a very, very glamorous, dressed-up crowd. Where the others were glamorous themselves, this was a smartly dressed, glamorous crowd.
And were these his pictures of the roses that were going on?
Yes.
I think it was, on both these nights, we were able to enjoy the show. We were here to help support, facilitate the evening, but we were standing there as witnesses as well to, somehow in this basement in Dalston that everybody claimed it was so difficult to find, and what exactly is it that we're doing in here? And we had first a Hollywood crowd. We had Gilbert and George, then rolling straight onto Christos Toller's show where there was, loads of designers. Kevin Anthony Rowland was in the building, who's the singer of Dexy's Midnight Runners. We had just chatted.
Come on, Eileen.
Yeah. what a lovely man. We're like, oh, can we just take a snap with you? Because I really love your beret. And then afterwards, somebody told us who he was, and we were just... And Christos, you know, the whole way through, he had a sold out show. You know, it was fantastic. Like, classy group of people, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. We were just... Many times we walked out of here completely sort of mind numb as to how cool an evening it was. And testament again to, you know, you just have to let it grow.
Let it wash over you.
Yeah.
In that scenario.
Yeah.
Okay, so what have we got at moment number 6?
Fanacapan's opening.
Oh, what a show that was! That's by far, but that's my number one. I really, it was my favorite experience. That it was just like, it was a pleasure. It wasn't even like work. It was like I did it 24/7. Would do it until I would just fall asleep. I'd wake up and I'd be just head first straight into it. Just wanted to make the most successful show for my friend, you know. And it was the first experience that we had done. It was a learning curve with Prince, because it was the first show that we managed Prince, and we had done something where we had released them to the States in advance, and it was such a great experience, rolling around these prints, selling all these prints before the show even opened. And the show opening was just such an incredible, the vibe inside it was packed to the rafters inside it. Good heads, great faces in there.
It was a who's who, because I remember going to that one. It was a who's who of the street art scene in East London, wasn't it?
It was indeed. It was a very hotly anticipated. It was great because the guest list, everybody wanted to be on the guest list, and some said, like, well, we don't have enough space for everybody.
Is that the show, you think, that put Basement Space really on the street art sort of scene, East London scene, the map?
That's when I felt we had leveled up to being a legitimate gallery 100%. You know, when Greg first told me Fanacapan has agreed to do a show, I was just shocked, you know. But as we just roll with the punches and the surprises all the time, it's almost like there is an opportunity to let that, like, yourself actually believe that these things are going to happen. I went home to change, and I remember coming up the road on the bus and seeing people posting pictures already from the show opening, just queuing up outside. My hair was standing on end. It was so big for us. It was such a buzz. It felt incredible, you know. And like Greg said, Fanacapan just let it happen, you know. Everybody enjoyed it, and I think that having people contact us from all over the world, you know, this little gallery that we had started, selling prints all over the world, sending the catalogue all over the world. Like, Fanacapan's show was just, the whole thing for us was just this adrenaline buzz. It was just incredible.
Solid adrenaline buzz. I remember getting home, that night, or was it the next day, waking up, and I stopped and I was looking out the window, and I started to cry, because it was just like, suddenly I was in a moment where it was very weird for me. I didn't have to do anything. Up until that moment, every single waking second of the day, it was, I'm good, I'm doing something, there's something more that I'm doing for the show, that I have to do this, I have to do that. And it was just that moment, like, oh my God, I don't have anything to do. It's done, it's all done, everything's in motion. It's amazing.
For you really drove that show in terms of the social media and the marketing, and you know, both of us serve, we're different aspects of the gallery. You know, I'm a lot more sort of focused, structured. I understand how to do things in one way, and Greg is very much a people's person, you know, and that, like, reaching out, that's what he does best, and he just came into his own, I think. In, you know, you made your role for yourself in the gallery, and he, you know, it was a lot of the success of it was due to you.
Cheers.
Chin chin.
Hey, we should have. Okay, so a lovely moment. That was a great show. I remember seeing that show. So what's moment 7? What have we got on the list?
Clandestinos Art, which is a duo, a married couple, Shellac Attack and Bruno Smokey. We were put in touch with them by
Great names. Shellac Attack and Bruno Smokey.
And boy, are these guys like pro artists, you know. And we were put in touch with them through Amara Pordias, who said, we've got some friends, they would like to do a show in London. We contacted them via WhatsApp. Via email, they WhatsApped us back, and and within a 15-minute conversation on WhatsApp had booked their flights to the UK to come to our gallery and to do a solo show here. And for us, it was the trust, that these two guys, incredible artists, they produce huge murals. They do a lot of community work. They work in prisons, they work with women, they worked all over the world, indigenous communities, but they needed to kind of crack the UK market, but they put this trust in us, like, hey, we're coming in a month. And we were like, whoa, because it was our first experience working with international artists. And
a big name international artists on the street art scene. They are well known.
Yes, yeah. And it actually, in retrospect, they were true professionals. They brought all their canvases down. Mikey Dredd, who has been on the street art scene photographing and documenting for years, was an amazing help in that show because, for us it was a first. I said to him, we've got to make stretches for all these canvases. How do we do this? We've got 2 days. We had to have a Saturday opening because they were landing on the Thursday. He rolled on down, had
Mikey
a sandwich. Yes. No stress, that man. Went off, we bought the timber, huge 4x2s, as he calls them, and built all the canvas stretches in the gallery, stretched all the canvases. People came from Sweden, France, different parts of the UK to be here at the opening.
Yeah, that was touching, that.
Yeah, it felt so, it was just pure positivity that night. It was great.
And you arranged for some containers to be painted as part of that show as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, I saw those. They look pretty good.
Yeah.
That's what the Haggerston Riviera, those containers looking out over the canal. They look great.
Yeah, that was, an outdoor space. We were trying to find walls. Those containers aren't going to be painted, but we said to them, hey, these are, if you look at them as massive canvases, they're right on the canal and hundreds of people see them every day. In the true spirit of who they are, they saw them and like, cool, let's just do it, And over the next, was it 3 or 4 days?
3 days later.
3 days later, we built a scaffold for them. And they're not easy to paint. They're like a corrugated surface, really difficult. Bruno couldn't stand back at all from his piece.
Yeah, so he's right up front, painting this massive container.
It's a foot away, and the containers are maybe, 8 meters. No, maybe less. No, they're about 5 meters high. And they produced these 2 really bright colors. People were stuck. I think for me, I cried that day. Loads of tears that day.
So what's moment number 8?
Doing lines for sure. What a show that was. We had it was Captain Chris, Tony Boy, Dill, and Obert. It was the 4 of them, and they came in and for 3 days, they painted up. They boarded off the alcoves and painted the walls. It was just black and white. Put some secret canvases inside there. And did a print show, so prints of the pieces that was something to behold every day. Just coming in and seeing how the room just changed and just built up the layers and insane.
These are all character-based street artists, aren't they?
Yes.
They painted literally every surface of the gallery.
Yes, black and white. It was like being immersed in an illustration. And I think what's not widely known facts, our close friends know it, not everyone, was that we lived in the gallery for part of this time, especially when we were setting it up, because there was no alternative. And so many times, like this room that we're sitting in, the storeroom that's now official with paintings and prints, and Greg's built a beautiful rack where everything is safely stored, and we receive and give paintings in a very professional manner. There was a mattress in here at one time. It was piled high with clothes. There was computers, art, tools, everything piled up. And the Doing Lines show happened while we were still living here. Because it was, at a time, the only way to facilitate the growth of the gallery. Both Greg and I together in this space. We had no personal space. We had nowhere to hang anything. We had nowhere to find anything. I don't know how and the gallery was just here you go. And these artists worked into the wee hours, drawing and illustrating and cutting boards,
You're saying, guys, I want to get some kip.
Yeah,
Get out of it! When you finish, what time do you call this?
4 o'clock in the morning.
Can you imagine how awkward though? I mean, for them and for us, for a long time,
You're coming out in your 90s, so just don't mind me, I'm having a cup of tea.
I know.
You have a quick shower.
I didn't have to that night I came out in my 90 because there was a crazy man at the door, like screaming and banging and yelling things through the letterbox, and the guys were so tired. They were just like, just ignore him. I'm like, what's going on? Like, there's someone about to smash the door down. And I could hear them cutting the boards, but I mean, for me, for a long time, I didn't want to talk about it because I felt it compromised our professionalism as a gallery. But that's how badly...
It isn't. It's real.
Like,
we're real people. This
Yeah.
has been a real struggle.
Yeah.
There's no other funding and corporateness behind this.
No. This is the bone of contention, the facade that I wanted to always maintain, and then what the absolute chaos that was happening behind that. So, yeah, and that's why doing lines was so special, because it was just like you were watching this happen. And just true masters at work, the fearlessness with which they draw, they just know exactly, and they just didn't stop. Just carried on drawing. And I think, it was one of our most successful and authentic, definitely.
What's number 9 on the list?
Number 9, very recently happened to us, just last night, in fact.
Wow, super recent.
Yes. In an externally curated show, Cultivate by Sean Worrell, I asked Greg if we can include this, because for me this illustrates the whole experience of basement space. Is that stuff happens to you and you don't understand what it is because it just happens, and then you learn how to deal with it. I was outside making sure that no one was bothering the neighbors or drinking or unruly behavior. I came downstairs, the gallery was all hush, everyone hanging off the stairs in suspense, and there was a lady in the midst of a performance piece where she was using surgical needles to pin rose petals to her face, and blood was dripping down her face and onto her dress.
Yes, this was how blood was spilt in basement
Yeah.
space.
For me, I think that when there's no fallback, and you're like,
Quite is going on now.
yeah, well, and how are we supposed to handle this? And so then first I was watching it going, and obviously it got a real emotional rise out of me and everyone, because watching needles going through her face and the blood, and not everyone is like, has a strong enough stomach for that. But then afterwards I realized, who's the management? Yeah. And what happens afterwards? Yeah. So I was like, she went off, which she had to, and I'm sure that she was in a state of shock somewhat.
I'm sure she's probably done that before. I'm sure she was fine. She just had to go.
I would hope it wasn't her first time.
No.
She's done this particular
go off
performance.
and take these needles out of her face, but left us to deal with blood and rose petals on the floor.
Yeah.
Wow, so what an introduction to performance art.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, super powerful moments. Really.
Was it? I mean, you talk about the sort of shocking moment. What was the performance like? What was it? Was it quite an emotive type piece?
It was. I mean, it was hard to watch. It was pain. I suppose. When some people are like, oh, I'm in love and it hurts so much, and that idea of long stem roses as this beautiful old school gesture of romantic love, and she's breaking off the petals from it and piercing her own face with it. She was entirely covered in petals and needles. So she was sort of turning that whole tradition on its head, And to me, that's what I was reading out of it.
It was like a love pain type.
Yes, in this kind of classic 80s way, where she was wearing this long white dress, but then it was covered in blood, but it was actually happening. It wasn't movie blood, which I thought it was actually the first few minutes. Then I realised.
That sounds pretty intense.
Yeah.
Okay, so the final moment,
Yes.
Moment number 10, what do we have?
We decided to put Pyramid Oracle's solo show, which
So he's not a UK-based artist, is he?
No.
No, he's from the States. He was working in Berlin before he arrived, but he's States-based.
He's a good friend of Greg's. and he reached out before he came to Europe this summer. He's a very enigmatic artist, because there's a lot of symbolism behind his art. He wishes to remain kind of anonymous, and his work is unique, authentic. There is nothing like it. It's difficult to look at, amazing to look at, and I really admire his spirit as an artist. And he hand paints his paste ups, which are enormous. They're 2 to 3 meters by 2 meters, some of them, and then he pastes them on the street. And so something that would take 2 to 3 weeks to paint, he just signs it, just gives over to the world. It could be tagged over in a day, or and as a paste up artist, I think that's it's a really beautiful thing. And I think again the residency was a new experience for us, because it becomes a very intimate relationship with the artist. They're living in the space, they're creating the work in the space.
Was here?
Yes.
Yeah,
Was he in this?
No. He lived all over the basement.
Yes.
He lived all over. They definitely deliver in the
All right, because we are sitting in the
although
room,
Yeah.
the front room of Basement Space.
Although to be fair, I have seen him sleeping in here before.
Yeah.
There was one time. We might have both fallen asleep in here while the show was on.
Well, this became his space because he was in Europe for a while. He needed a place to be able to produce the work. He taught us a lot about building canvases and stretching canvases, but it's also where producing solo shows with artists becomes a very intense experience, very intimate, because they're sort of opening themselves up entirely for everyone to see. When it's a solo show, it's like, this is who you are as an artist, this is what you mean, and it's just like laid bare. And I think I'm learning as a gallery how we need to cushion that and sort of allow them to feel more support in that experience.
So that's 10 top moments.
Yes, in just a
In
year.
no particular
And
order.
a lot going on there.
Yeah.
Some big shows, some big characters coming here, some big experiences. If I was to ask you both, just individually, just for one thing, the one thing that rises to the top, what would it be?
For me, it's because I just think all the time, they're just like, pinch me. And I suppose out of everything we've just said would be that bus trip coming up to Funakapan solo show, where I was totally on my own, because I had about 10 minutes to go home and change my clothes and come back. And seeing all this stuff that was happening, like mushrooming, if you will, and just thinking, this is a result of just a small little decision and a fusion of two people, and how... And the support of a community and artists and bloggers, and we don't always do everything right. It's the best way is learning through experience. And I think if I had gone to a course on how to open an art gallery, how to be a curator, I would never be able to articulate as well as we have here what it really means to run a gallery.
But when you got off that bus and you saw those people, you thought, whoa. Something's happened here.
The whole thing was surreal for me. I was just in shock the whole night. I ended up sleeping in this gallery storeroom that night.
That's becoming a theme, man.
Yeah.
Lots of people have slept on the floor.
Greg, what's the thing that rises to the top for you?
The tail end of that experience, as I was saying, is that moment where I had a tear when I was crying. We had nothing to do after that, and at the end of the Funakapan experience, we were just like, oh my god, that was just like the most amazing experience of my life. It was amazing being able to pull that off and that drive. So much hard work, but that pleasure for the hard work, rewarded for it, and that moment of like, oh my god, I've got actually nothing to do. I don't have a million things to do right this second. I've got nothing to do. I can just bask in the glory of it.
And what happened is actually real. I think because. And the pace at which everything happens to us, we actually, for that moment, me coming here, Greg, the next day, we realised, whoa, this is actually happening in our relationship too, which exactly coincides with the gallery starting, and who we are as a couple, and how hard this is to do this, it's like being married immediately, and working, like learning about each other and the space at the same time, and how to do that. There's nothing more difficult nor rewarding.
What a great way to end. Greg, Lara, thanks for your top 10. Thanks for a great year of Basement Space.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
And
you.
thanks
Yeah.
for all the amazing work you do for
No
us. too.
problem.
Here's to another amazing year of
Here's
Basement
to another
Space.
Basement Space with Inspiring City.
Yeah, keep going. Inspiring City all the way. Yeah.